This video opens with a picture that says, "Welcome to my channel," spelled out in red and blue yarn. If you're wondering why I'm telling you what you can see, it's because I am one of the 16 million people that you share planet Earth with who's considered legally blind. Some people like myself have never seen a color. They won't know that's red and blue. Other people can see it's writing. Some people can't see it at all. So I'm here on YouTube for so many reasons. One, because I think we need to have more people with visual impairments on YouTube talking about their life and their experiences, helping to educate and encourage people and content creators. I live near a railroad track, if you can't hear that, to encourage increased accessibility on YouTube and on the internet. So I will do my best to describe items and colors when I know them, but I am colorblind myself, so I might not remember what color something is. Then I can't tell you. I can tell you my best guess, but I can't tell brown from red from eggplant. I can't tell, like mint green from yellow. So I'll do my best, but that's what I'm doing here today. And I also love yarn, and I also love to knit and crochet. And so this channel is going to be about life with visual impairments, about yarn, about knitting and crochet. And today we're going to talk about my knitting journey. A few weeks ago, I posted a video called My Crochet Journey, and I took you on my journey of how I arrived at crochet. So I thought we'd do that this week with knitting. And just like I said in that video, my grandmother crocheted. My grandmother also knit, but she passed away when I was 9. Couldn't teach me how to knit, didn't have that opportunity. So when my grandmother passed away, my interest in knitting and crochet and yarn just sort of went into hibernation. And as I mentioned in that video, when I was in middle school, high school, somewhere in there, when my sister was in high school, she learned how to crochet, and she thought I needed to learn how to crochet. And she did her best to teach me, but I didn't pick it up. I didn't get it. You can watch that video to learn more about that story. So we grew up in Washington State, and when she decided to go to college, she went all the way across the country to Massachusetts. And there, while she was over there going to college, she also learned how to knit. And just like with crochet, she thought I should learn how to knit too. But it never happened because, well, like I said in that video, I was busy with life, with school, college, boyfriends, my guide dogs, all the things in life at that stage in your life. And I always thought, well, one day when I'm old, I'll learn how to knit and crochet. And my mindset still, knitting and crochet was sort of the thing you did when you were old. It was like the grandma thing, right? And so now I know the knitting and crochet of today is not the knitting and crochet of our grandmothers from people of my era. Today it's trendy, today it's for everybody, and I truly believe that, which is one of the many reasons I'm here on YouTube, is to say knitting and crochet is for everybody of all age groups, of all abilities, disabilities, health issues. It's for all of us. So my sister learned how to knit, and one of the things I love about my sister, there's many things that I love about my older sister, but one of them is that she never doubted that I would learn how to knit and crochet. That didn't even cross her mind. She knew that we grew up in the same household, and I learned how to wash dishes just like she did, right? My mom taught me how to do that by feel, even if she had to hand me the same plate 4 times and say, no, do it by feel. Feel it again. Do it still dirty here. Use your fingers. Feel it. I learned how to do, the expectation was the same. With the exception of driving a car, the expectation in our family was that I was going to learn to do the same things as my sister. And I did. I washed dishes, learned how to cook, do laundry, go to college, take public transit. I did those things, just did them with the guide dog at my side or with the white cane. So my sister never even thought for a moment, well, my sister's mostly blind. My sister is a guide dog. She can't do this. That wasn't a thought. For her, it was always like, of course my sister can learn how to knit and crochet. And that's one of the many messages in this video. And what I'm doing here on YouTube is to say that if you're blind or visually impaired, if you're becoming blind or visually impaired, if you have a child, friend, coworker, whoever who's blind or visually impaired, don't think, well, they can't do that, okay? If they're interested at all, or if you think they need a hobby, then knitting and crochet is great because it's tactile, because you have the hooks or the needles in your hands and you can manipulate the yarn with your hands. The big thing that I struggle with is colors. I'm constantly texting them pictures of colors. So my sister learned how to knit and she got the love of knitting, and she wanted me to love knitting too. And of course, like anybody who loves to knit and crochet, you love to make gifts for the people that you love. And so my sister did. These are just a few of the things that she made for me. This is a sweater hoodie. It is tan, and this is one of the first gifts that my sister sent me that I love. It is hand knit. I don't wear it very often because it's 100% alpaca, and you know, I'm very, very, very worried because it's this real light tan and stains will show up. I'm really worried about getting it dirty. So I spend a lot more time touching this sweater a lot because it's super soft than I do wearing it, because I'm like so afraid of getting it dirty and having to get stains out of it and having to hand wash it over and over. But I do love it. It's very, very special to me. Another one of my favorite things that my sister made, this is a crop faux fur red coat. Okay, this is the Lion Brand Fun Fur. It's, like you'll learn if you listen to my channel, another discontinued yarn. Sad face, right? But they discontinued it. But this coat is so fun. She made this for me when I was still, I think I was in graduate school. I might have been still an undergrad. I might have been an undergrad. I don't remember for sure, but I was still in my early college days when she made this for me, and I loved it. She would have friends that would come over and try it on before she mailed it to me, because it was like a birthday gift, I think, or maybe a Christmas gift, but it was a gift. So she had it in her apartment for a while till she was mailing special occasion packages, and she had people come over and they would try this on and they would want one, and she's like, oh no, I'm not making that for anybody else. So I was the only person that she ever made one of these for, and I love it. It's her treasure. So my sister had the knitting and crochet bug. She wanted to share her love with me. She made me lots and lots of gifts and sweaters. This is one more that I'll show you. It's a beautiful autumnal sort of reds and browns button-up cardi with cute little white trim on it that she made for me. This is 100% cotton. This is probably one of, besides socks, she still does make me socks, but other than that, my sister, once I learned how to knit, she's like, knit your own stuff. So now, when she moved recently, the other year, she found the leftovers of this yarn, and she mailed it, she gave it to me, she sent it to me in my Christmas package. She's like, I found the leftover yarn from your sweater. You know how to knit now. Make your own project with it, which I love, by the way. So that's a big question. Anybody have thoughts about that? Let me know in the comment section. What do you think? Should I make like a little tank top, like cami, to go underneath the cardi with the rest of the yarn? Should I make a skirt that matches it? Like, what should I do to coordinate with the rest of this yarn? I've got about two and a little bit, 4 full skeins and a little bit more. So that is definitely something that I've been thinking about, what to make with the rest of that yarn. So now, for the most part, she, you know, she'll still, if she's home, she'll still make me socks. But she's like, do your own thing. But when she does come home, my sister doesn't knit and crochet quite as much now because she quilts and she sews and she does cross stitch and she does all the crafts. But when she travels, she's always got a pair of little circular knitting needles in her bag, and she's always making socks. So she came home a few years ago and had these beautiful, these are like brown tonal, so a variety of shades of brown rib socks. She was working on her flight home in her first day or two home, and then of course, you know, she didn't want to pack them back with her, so she left them with me. So she does still come home, and when she's working on socks, she will often leave them with me. But beyond that, she's like, make your own stuff now. So, but she is very pleased and very proud. We were like 80s children. We were like the 80s latchkey children. Our parents worked a lot, so she kind of raised me a lot, and so she's kind of, even though she's only 2.5 years old, I mean, she's kind of got that parent pride. She's like, yeah, you learned how to knit. You did it. You learned how to crochet. So she is very happy and very proud that I learned how to finally knit and crochet. So that's the beginning of my journey, is my sister knit and crochet, but she was across the country from me, and so she really wasn't the person, because when she would come home for like a week, we were always busy and doing life and doing things. And so when I was in college, I went to graduate school, got a doctorate degree in psychology, living in Portland, and I thought, you know, I was going to be in my job and my career. And so I just left. That was in 2006. And I was like, and I was busy applying for jobs. I was working out at the gym. I'd go to the gym for a couple hours a day and work out. And I just didn't have the time for knitting and crochet. And if you're wondering, is this still about knitting? It is. It's my journey. And my path to knitting was not a straight shot. It was not like a point A to point B. It was, you know, there was like detours and there were stalls, because that's life, right? So once I got out of graduate school, I'd been living in Portland, and that happened to be the home of Blind Ambition, the first blind dragon boat team in the United States, and I got involved with that. And then I still unemployed, yes, really, with my doctorate degree. I would tell people I think I'm the only person in the state of Oregon who's not of retirement age who's living on food stamps. Yeah, that happened in my life. So I was unemployed and applying for jobs, looking for things to do to fill my time. And one day, a friend of mine approached me and said, hey, I'm going to make a trip down. My husband's going to drive me down to the Oregon State School for the Blind, which is about an hour away in Salem, and it sadly is closed. Now, that's a whole other topic as well for another video, education, schools for the blind versus not. But she was like, I thought it'd be really good if you came with me to talk to the kids about college, going to college, getting your doctorate degree. She said, I think it'd be so good for these kids to meet Dr. Wong, who went to 10 years at college with a guide dog at her side. So she's like, you know, would you want to come down and talk to the kids? And I was like, yeah, definitely. I love doing that kind of stuff. Love talking to kids. Not just blind and visually impaired and disabled kids. I talk to all kinds of kids in classrooms and programs and preschools and church classes. Loved doing it, educating them about disabilities, about visual impairments, about guide dogs and white canes and navigation and technology and braille and all the things that are my life. So, of course I wanted to do that. Plus, still unemployed. And she worked for the Oregon Commission for the Blind. We were going to the Oregon School for the Blind. And both of those places I wanted to be. I wanted to say, hi, got my hand up in the air, hi, unemployed, need a job. I was willing to work. Even though I wanted to work in college counseling, I absolutely was willing to work at any of those places. So I was always trying to network. When you're unemployed and you're looking for work, it's important to think bigger than just what you got your degree. And if you're unemployed for a long period of time, it's really important to network. Whole another topic, right? But I was willing to make those connections, go to those agencies and say, I'm unemployed, by the way. Always was inserting that into my conversations. Looking for work. Do you know of anything? So I said, absolutely, let's do it. So we did it. We went down, made the road trip with her husband driving, because, you know, we're both, she's more blind than I. So on the way back, she happens to say to me, by the way, I hear from everybody that, you know, you're really into fitness. You work out at the gym. I said, yeah, I go to the gym almost every day right now because I'm unemployed. And she's like, I heard you're in the dragon boat community. I'm like, yep. And she says, so would you be interested in being on the first team of blind and visually impaired people to participate in Portland to Coast? And of course, I said, why not? Why not? Why not? And if you lived anywhere near Portland or you're at all involved in the outdoor sports community in the Pacific Northwest, you know what Portland to Coast is. It's the longest walking relay in the world. It's 130 miles about from downtown Portland to the Oregon coast. You walk around the clock 24/7 on the side of the highway in a team of people till you get there, day and night. Another topic, another detour. So we're not going to get deep into that in this video, but I can make a whole another video about that. But I was like, yeah, let's do it. I know you're thinking, how does this get you to knitting? Trust me, I put knitting on the shelf and said, I don't need you right now, knitting. And knitting was coming for me because knitting knew that I needed knitting. Okay, I didn't know it, but knitting was chasing me down saying, you need me, you need me. Okay, so I did Portland to Coast. I had a human guide. Even though I had a guide dog at the time, I had Rosie, my Rosie the rock star. Several of us on the team had guide dogs. But after we learned more about the race, we decided that's probably best for us to have humans, just because it takes place in August. It can be like, it's like 88 degrees out. You're on the side of the road, on a highway with traffic. It's hot asphalt, which would be really hot on their feet. And even though Rosie loved to work, and she did, and I had 3 guide dogs, and I did give them all voices. When I thought that they would be speaking in my head, I give them voices. And so if Rosie could have talked, she would talk like this, okay? If Rosie had a human voice, it would be like this. And even though she loved to work, she would not have been a fan. If it was 88 degrees in August when I walked Portland to Coast, I did my first leg was at 1 p.m., heat of the day, all pretty much uphill. There's a little coastal mountain range on the way to the Oregon coast. That was my segment. Over 4 miles, heat of the day, 88 degrees, hot asphalt, which probably was like 100 degrees, would have burned her little feeties. She would not have been a fan. She would have been like, human, your species invented this thing called the wheel. The wheel. And now you group them in little groupings as people, usually in 4, and then you mount a metal box on them, and it's called the automobile. And we should be in one. She would have been wanting to get into every car that went past us. She just would not have been down with that plan. So she liked to work, but those were not her favorite working conditions, and she would have let me know. Plus, I don't think it would have been kind to ask our dogs. I just don't, to work in those temperatures under those conditions. So super glad we had human guides. Things went so well for me that year with my human guide that in 2009, when they were going to do Portland to Coast again, they of course invited me and said, hey, you want to come back and do Portland to Coast? I said, of course. Okay, well, your human guide's not available, but we'll find you another one, don't worry. So I said, of course. And they even asked me to be the captain. So I was the captain 2009 of Portland to Coast, of Team I Rock, first team of blind and visually impaired people to do it. And that year, my human guide, here it is the part you yarn lovers have been waiting for. My human guide was a knitter. And when you walk together a couple days a week for several miles, you talk about everything, right? So of course, knitter, if you're a knitter or a crocheter or a yarn enthusiast, you know you want to talk about yarn in every conversation. You want to be like, hi, I knit. Hi, I crochet. Can I whip out? Oh, we're having coffee. Can I bring my knitting? I'm not even going to ask. I'm going to knit, right? You know it. So, she, of course, was talking knitting to me. And she was like, well, so do you knit? And I'm like, oh my sister does, but I don't really. I'll probably do it one day. It looks cool. I love the stuff, right? I love my red floofy coat. I love it, but I don't knit. I love my socks, but I don't knit, right? Love all the makes, right? Love the alpaca hoodie, but I don't knit myself. She was like, why not? Why don't? You're unemployed. Yes, you're working out at the gym, you're applying for jobs, but you got time. Why not? So I'm like, well, okay, but we'll do it. So she got a group together of other blind and visually impaired people at the Oregon Commission for the Blind, and she set up a knitting group, and she started teaching knitting, and some of the people there already knew how to knit, some didn't. She brought a circular knitting needle, which is what I knit on to this day. Here is a stocking. This is what's called a circular knitting needle, meaning it's got a point on both ends and a cable in the middle. To this day, I don't know how to knit on single pointed knitting needles. They baffle me. I'm like, what do I do with that? Okay, I don't know how to do it. I learned on circs. That's what I do. I can do double points. I don't like them as well. I like the flexibility with the cable. So whether I'm knitting a flat blanket like this cream colored teddy bear blanket, or if I'm knitting socks or skirts or cardies, I knit on circs. So she brought me a circular knitting needle and some cotton dishcloth yarn. If you watch my crochet video, you know my thoughts about that. The first knitting and crochet project should be a dishcloth because it's manageable, it's small, you can get it done in a reasonable time. If you make mistakes, your countertops don't care, your dishes don't care, it doesn't really matter. Your stitch count gets off, it doesn't really matter. So she was like, okay, you're gonna knit a cotton dishcloth. And so she tried to teach me what's called casting on, which is the process of getting your knit stitches onto the needle, from the yarn onto the needle. And she tried to teach me what's called the long tail cast on, which there are numerous ways to cast on, but that was the primary way that she thought I should learn and what I mostly use today. Just like with crochet, I didn't get it. And my sister tried to teach me to chain with the crochet. I didn't get it. She was trying to teach me how to cast on. I didn't get it. So finally she watched me struggle and she's like, let me cast on for you. She put the stitches on just like my sister with crochet. She knit a few rows, then handed me the dishcloth back and once again explained to me how to knit, and I began to knit. And just like with my crochet dish projects, with my crochet projects, I messed up my stitch count. I missed the end stitches and my dishcloth started getting narrower. Well, with knitting, I couldn't figure out where to put. Now it seems obvious. The stitch is on the needle, and that's where you put your needle to knit. But when I was first learning how, I do it by feel because I can't see, and I would go into the side and I would knit down below. And now, as an experienced knitter, I'm like, what was I thinking? But I couldn't figure out where to put my needle when I first started. Just like with crochet, I'm like, where do I put the hook? I couldn't figure it out. So I'd start on the side of my project and I would knit that stitch every time. And so just like with my crochet, except for it getting smaller, my knitting was getting bigger. I was increasing. It was turning into a trapezoid, okay? It was expanding on both sides of my cotton dishcloth, and it was getting bigger and bigger. And at first we're like, well, I'll be able to correct this issue. And then I would joke, I'm like, oh, it's just like a cat scarf. Like it'll be like a little, cat scarf, like a little kerchief that you put around the neck of your cat. Well, I don't have a cat. Nothing against them except that they make me itch. I'm allergic to them. So I don't have them in my home. But I'm like, it'll be a cat scarf. And then it kept getting like a cat handkerchief. It's getting bigger and bigger to the point that it was going to fit around my 85-pound German Shepherd guide dog. Okay, it was going to become a rosy kerchief. So she was like, maybe we should take this out and start over. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. So we took the knitting project off the needle. So I'm telling you this just like with my crochet. If you mess up your first projects, it really is okay. Just keep going because you will learn how to knit. So we took it all off, scrapped it, and she said, okay, you've got the knit stitch down, even though you're struggling with your stitch count. You need to learn how to cast on. So she taught me how to cast on, and I did get it that time. And I'm so glad that I did. I'm so glad she made me learn how to do that while I was there and while she was there. So I learned how to cast on, how to put my stitches on my needle, and then took off with the knitting. And she walked me through again where you put your needle on the stitch on the end of the needle, not on the side. That is not below, not in the hole on the side. You need to feel what's on the end of your needle and then go into there. So I did get it. But Portland to Coast ended in August, right? Because that's when the race was. And then we stopped having our knitting group. And then I was, getting more serious in the relationship. And I became a member of what was called the Portland Commission on Disability, which I'm grateful I did that. I'm grateful I served my city. Disability things were really important to me at the time. Glad I did it. I started going to city council meetings. I was going to public transit meetings. And civic engagement's important. It's good to be involved. I recommend it. Just bring your knitting and crochet with you. Sit in your city council meetings and knit and crochet, okay? I'm not saying don't go. I probably should have just brought my knitting with me and kept going. But I didn't. So I set knitting aside. And then I was still unemployed. 4 years later, Dr. Wong, doctorate degree in psychology. Unemployed, and I knew this can't, I've applied everywhere for jobs. This can't go on forever. So I made the very hard decision to move back home in my 30s with a doctorate degree in psychology. Very tough decision, but I did. I moved back home with my parents. Long conversations, big family decision. I did it, but that meant moving 4.5, 5 hours away back to Washington State. And then when I got there and got settled and got unpacked, my focus was on studying to get licensed as a counselor at the master's level and as a psychologist. So I was studying for, I think it's called the NCE, National Counselor's Exam. Busy with that. Still wanting to knit a little bit. Once I got unpacked, got settled in the evenings after I'd been studying all day. After I made dinner for my mom was still working full time. I'd make dinner for my mom. After all that, I would want to still knit a little bit when we'd sit together and have a little bit of family time, watching the news or something on TV. So I finally finished my dishcloth. I got to the point I need to finish this thing. And so I had no idea how to finish a knitting project. No clue what to do. It's called bind off or cast off, how you finish your projects. So I didn't know what to do. Called my sister in New York, thankfully. And she took my phone call. And she explained to me how to bind off. And I did it. I did it. I was super proud. She was super proud. I was on to my next project. We went to probably Walmart, got some Red Heart Super Saver, box store, 100% acrylic, and I cast on big blue scarf and knit and knit and knit and had this massively long scarf. Well, eventually, when your scarf's down to your toes, you probably should finish that project too, but I loved it. I honestly I could still be knitting. That scarf could fill up this room and I'd still be just knitting away on it. I was super into it, but I knew at that point I wanted to do more. I wanted to, and my sister said, well, because I knew then that there was so much more potential, but I knew I needed to learn shaping, increasing and decreasing. I wanted to learn cables and lace. I wanted to learn all the things. So my sister, you have to pretty much learn how to knit and purl, which is the other stitch. And then once you can do the knit and the purl stitch, then you can really do the increasing and the shaping and the cables and the lace, and you can do all the pretty things. She tried to describe to me how to purl over the phone, and I did not get it. Could not get it. Did not get it. This was in 2010. And so 15 years ago, there was not nearly as many knitting and crochet YouTube channels as there are today. Today, there's so many, I almost feel like I shouldn't be here because I feel like there's just so many. But I do think a visually impaired knitter and crocheter, I can offer encouragement and assistance and enthusiasm for people who are visually impaired. So that's what I'm doing here. But there wasn't that many channels then. So I would try to listen to videos to learn how to purl. I couldn't see what was happening on the screen. I'd zoom it in, couldn't see it. Couldn't follow their instructions. I couldn't get purling. I was super frustrated. And so I was on Facebook, and I thought, well, I know there's knitting groups on Facebook. I'll try Facebook. So I got onto some knitting groups on Facebook, and I said, hey, hi, I'm visually impaired. I'm mostly blind. I've tried watching videos. I can't see, is there anybody who knits or crochets who's blind who can help me or who knows good resources for blind people, places that use their words? And pretty much Facebook was a huge disappointment. It was like not a lot of help, not a lot of responses. The ones that I got were like, well, I don't know anybody who's blind who knits. I don't think anybody can help a blind person. Well, I don't know why you'd want to knit. I don't know why you think you could do that. It was like the same stuff I've heard my whole life. Okay, I had a 7th grade algebra teacher who didn't think that I needed algebra. I had a chemistry teacher in high school, the only chemistry teacher in my small town, who didn't think I should be in his class because it was a liability. Okay, I wanted to become a psychologist. People said, you're not going to become a psychologist, you can't see. Okay, I've heard that my whole life. Well, guess what? Debbie, dump on your dreams. Doubter, not invited to my party. Okay, she's not invited to your party either. If you want to knit and crochet, Debbie, doubter, dream killer, you are not invited to the party. Okay, don't let that voice in that says, well, I don't think you can do this. Okay, so one person did send me a link to something that was not helpful. So I got discouraged, threw knitting aside, thought, well, I'm just going to have to wait till my sister comes home. And she only comes home once or twice a year usually. So I left all my Facebook knitting groups. Now, I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd stayed, because if you know me, when I want to do something, I'm like, and you tell me I can't, I'm like, oh, take a seat. Take a seat, Debbie Downer Dream Killer. Take a seat. Don't just take a seat. Take a front row seat to the show, okay? Because I'm gonna do it, okay? And I'm so glad I didn't listen to Debbie Dream Killer Doubter, because this beautiful purple dress would have never happened. It is purple. It is a circular yoke. It has lace leaves around the yoke. It has diamond lace around the hem. I didn't just knit this summer cotton linen purple dress. I designed it myself. This is my own design. If you want to learn about that, I have a whole other video on my channel talking about how my deteriorating eyesight freed me to design. I stopped knitting other people's patterns and started creating my own. This purple dress with the lace leaves and diamonds is my own creation. So part of me wishes I was still in that knitting group so I could say, Debbie Downer, Debbie Dream Killer, no, look what I did. I'm not just knitting, I'm designing. I'm not in those groups, and it's probably a good thing, because I would not be humble or kind. And I do try to be humble and kind. I do. So, and I probably wouldn't be. So it's probably for the best that I'm not there. I don't remember the name of the knitting group. Probably don't belong there, but it certainly, even though now I crochet, and a lot of people in the crochet community are super positive, and they're like, join the crochet groups on Facebook, I'm super hesitant, because I'm like, I had such a bad experience with it. I don't want to go back. I'm not even on Facebook that much anymore. I don't enjoy Facebook. Facebook tried to teach me a lesson in 2010. We're not here to be helpful. I didn't get it for like 14 more years. Finally got it. Not on Facebook very much. So Facebook was not helpful. Not helpful. So, super frustrated. The world's telling me I can't do it again. Waiting for my sister, who believes in me, who knew I could do it, to come home. Happen to be out in the yard, throwing the tennis ball for Rizzy the rock star, the guide dog who did not want to walk Portland to Coast, and taking a break, which I do believe in. I believe with my guide dogs. They worked hard. They love their jobs, but I also very much believe that they needed downtime to just be dogs, to chase the ball, to have fun, to play with other dogs, to go, do doggy things. So every single day, at least once a day, sometimes twice or 3 times a day, I was outside with her at my parents' house, throwing a toy for her, letting her bark and run after it like a happy puppy that she was. In the backyard, throwing the ball to Rosie, minding my own business, when the neighbor, wonderful, wonderful neighbor, comes over and says, hey, how you doing? I heard you moved in. Welcome home. How you going? Do you miss Portland? Blah, 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 blah. We're having a wonderful conversation. And I just happened to say, you know, for the most part, I miss a few friends, but, you know, I was learning how to knit. And I never learned how to do the second half of knitting, basically the purl stitch. And I was, you know, venting my frustrations, making conversation, whatever. And he said, really? You want to learn how to purl? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, he started describing it to me. And I was like, wait, what? Let me get my yarn. Right inside, get the yarn and needle. And my neighbor taught me how to purl. Okay, so why am I telling you this? Why are we going on my knitting journey? Why are we taking all these stops? Because I'm telling you, if you want to knit and purl, if you want to knit, if you want to crochet, if you want to do the things, and YouTube and Facebook are not helping you, bring it up in conversation, okay? Because you will be shocked by who in real life will help you. I thought knitting groups on Facebook were going to help me. They were not there. My neighbor, who this is me being biased, right? He's a straight man. He was a Navy pilot. This man's job was to fly planes and land them on aircraft carriers. That's what he did. And when he retired from that, he taught aviation and aviation mechanics. I never considered him as a knitting resource, ever. And so had we not had this conversation, I might have waited who knows how long to learn how to purl. But I'm saying that because, you know, this man was a wonderful neighbor who would help me with many things. Kindest, gentlest, soft-spoken. I've never heard this man raise his voice in years, decades of being on every. He's never raised his voice. He doesn't curse. He's the nicest, politest person who, you know, given me rides with my guide dogs. But I never thought about asking him for help with knitting. So, if you want to learn how to knit and crochet and the internet's not being friendly, I think today you'll find a lot more help on YouTube. I do. Today when I want to learn something on YouTube, because there's so many more channels, I just do the Google search and I start if this person can't explain it to me in a way that I can get auditorily because I can't see the screen, I go to the next video and the next video and the next video. And that's how I've learned all the rest of my crocheting and my knitting now. There's so many more channels now. But if for some reason you're not finding what you need on YouTube, don't be afraid to bring it up in conversation. You will be shocked and surprised. Bring it up when you're talking to your neighbors. If they don't knit, maybe their grandma knits, maybe their sister knits, maybe their co-worker knits, maybe they know somebody who knits or crochets. So just bring it up. Be the squeaky wheel. Just like I was when I was unemployed, I'd bring it up all, I'm unemployed, right? I'd bring it up with everybody still looking for a job, right? Broken record. Bring it up. You will be surprised who knits or crochets, or who knows a family member or a friend who knits and crochets, who might be willing to sit down with you at a coffee shop somewhere. So once he taught me how to purl, I was off with it. I started making these baby blankets. This is a cream colored baby blanket. It has these teddy bears. It has 9 teddy bears. They're done so that one teddy bear is like a background of the stockinette stitch, and then the bear is done in what's called reverse stockinette stitch, so the bumpy side is out, and it has what's called a seed stitch border. So to make these type of picture type blankets, all you need to know how to do is cast on, bind off, knit, and purl. This is a 3x3 9 square blanket. As soon as I learned how to purl, I was off making baby blankets. I made baby blankets, gave them away. I sadly did not take any pictures of my first baby. It didn't even occur to me to take pictures and photograph and put on Facebook and document what I did. Did not occur to me. Now everybody is not just photographing for their Facebook and their Instagram. They're knitting and crocheting. Now they're doing what I'm doing. They're making YouTube channels and they're posting videos every single day. I'm working up my whip, my work in progress. This is my blanket. This is how far I am, right? But that didn't even occur to me. There's like no videos, no pictures even of the first baby blankets that I ever made. I would just knit them and box them up, have my mom or dad, and my dad usually take me to the post office, mail them off to somebody, and start another one. So once you learn the basic knit and purl, you can totally start doing these picture blankets for yourself, for babies, for whatever. So this is a little cream colored one. I did cream, gender neutral, can go to boy, girl, whatever, whoever. Like to have it on hand just in case somebody comes by and somebody's having a baby. I'm like, oh, there you go, baby blanket, baby gift, right? Super handy if you knit or crochet or you craft, to have a spare baby blanket in like a yellow or a cream, or a, you know, for anybody, color simple. I think teddy bears can go for anybody, cream can go for anybody. You know, obviously if you know the colors of their nursery, if they know, you know, they're doing mint or blue or whatever, by all means coordinate. But it's good to have just, I think, some cream or yellow or whatever, plain teddy bear or something for anybody type of baby blanket around. So this is my hanging out in my closet emergency just found out baby announcement blanket that I can box up, send off to whomever. So once I learned that, I was off with knitting, and off to designing things like the blue hooded cardi that I've shown before, right? Off to knitting, off to learning cables. Once I learned how to purl, I then could learn how to do cables on YouTube. Now I can learn how to do cables like this on YouTube just fine. I can learn how to do the increasing and the shaping for the neck, the raglan style on YouTube. All that I can now learn how to do on YouTube. I just needed that hands-on person to like actually show me. So why am I doing this? Why am I telling you the long journey? Why are we taking, why did we get lost, right? Well, first of all, because the person who's taking you on the journey has never had a legal driver's license, okay? So if we ended up in the ditch a few times, it's because, well, you know, can't see where I'm going. But no, seriously, because life is that way. For many of us, life is that way. When I didn't think I needed knitting, knitting came chasing me down. Knitting found me in places that I would have never looked for, and I am so grateful that I have knitting and crochet. Today, I do it every single day because life, rarely does life go as we planned, right? Like I had planned on getting a doctorate degree in psychology, and then getting a job at a counseling center, and then going to work every day with my guide dog. I had guide dogs for 17 years, and I thought I'd have them forever, and I thought I'd get a job at a college counseling center, go to work, feed my guide dog, go to the gym, work out, come home, cook dinner, play with the guide dog, go to bed, pack my lunch, go to bed, do it again like so many millions of other people. I had no idea that I'd be sitting out here without a guide dog, miles from a bus stop with, you know, a mountain of yarn for company. So knitting has been so beneficial to my mental health. It's had so many benefits for me. I knit or crochet every single day, and I think you should too. So, I'm telling you this very long story because life rarely goes how we plan, right? Oftentimes when you're driving and your little GPS is talking to you and it says, recalculating route. Okay, that's what happened in my life so many times. Recalculating route. And we end up totally didn't recalculate. It's like, we're off to somewhere else. The destination has changed. Who knows in life's journey where you're going to end up. I didn't think I'd end up here. I didn't think I'd need knitting. I thought knitting was way away in my future after I retired from my counseling center job. So you might need knitting. I think you do. I hope that whether you knit or crochet or not, that you can listen to this and think, maybe I need to learn how to knit. There are so many resources on YouTube today, and there's probably good Facebook groups. I'm a little down on Facebook right now. We're not really, we're not totally in non-speaking terms, but it's a cool relationship. It's like not today, not in the mood, maybe tomorrow. So, but YouTube does have a lot more resources today than there was in 2010. So as I said before, Google it and just keep, if they're not, if you can see, but if you can't as well, if somebody's not using their words or explaining it to you in a way that you can follow, just keep going. Just go down the list and you'll find somebody. I still try to learn new ways to increase, new ways to do. I still haven't mastered what's called German short rows, okay? And I just keep listening to people describe it. I'm like, that's not working. No, mine still has a hole in it, okay? Listen to somebody else describe it. So YouTube is full of resources today. So look on YouTube. But if you're not getting it from YouTube, start bringing it up in conversations, because you'll be surprised. Not just a sister, a neighbor, a Navy pilot, okay, might be the person who helps you along in your knitting journey. I was not looking to learn how to knit in Portland. When knitting came for me, I was unemployed. I was applying for jobs. I was super focused on physical fitness. I was there to participate in Portland to Coast, be a part of the first team of blind and visually impaired people to do the world's longest walking relay. That was big for me. That was historical. It was a big point in my life. That's what I was there to do. I wasn't there to learn how to knit, but knitting came for me. Knitting found me. So knitting and crochet may find you in the strangest places. If you want to learn how to knit or crochet and you're blind or visually impaired, don't be afraid to contact like your state commission for the blind. That was the Oregon Commission for the Blind. Don't be, or look for an independent living center or a Braille resource center or a senior center or a community center or a library or your local craft store. If you want to learn how to knit and crochet and YouTube ain't doing it for you, keep going. Try your community resources. Most stores that sell yarn and knitting supplies and knitting needles and crochet hooks, they want you to buy their stuff. So they very likely may have a class that will teach you how. If not, they might be willing to show you some of the basics, because they really do want you to spend your money in their store. So look to those stores, go in and ask them, do you ever teach a knitting class? Do you ever do a how to cast on class? Do you ever do a beginning knitting 101? How do I cast on? How do I do the basic knit stitch? How do I crochet? So don't be afraid to go to those resources. Don't be afraid to go to community centers. Don't be afraid to look for local stitching groups. There's oftentimes groups of local crafters, knitters, crocheters that meet at coffee shops, at libraries. When I lived in Portland, I had a friend who met Monday nights at a bar. They met at a pub at the happy hour and sat with their knitting and their crochet and crafted. Okay, if you see those people and you want to learn, sit down, buy a drink, observe for a while, conversate, bring it up. I'm pretty sure somebody will help you. Because if they're anything like me, they are passionate about it, they love it, and they think everybody should learn to stitch, whether it's knitting or crocheting. I want everybody to do it. I know we're all different. I know we're not all going to love it, but I really believe the world would be a better place if we all just sat down with our yarn, okay? And crafted gifts for each other. So don't be afraid. If YouTube isn't doing it for you, if Facebook isn't doing it for you, Don't invite Debbie Downer dream killer to the party. Don't listen to that voice, okay? Just keep going. Keep searching. Keep looking, because knitting and crochet are out there. So keep looking. You'll see somebody who's knitting. And when I used to live in the city and travel, I would knit. I'd knit on buses. I'd knit at airports. I'd knit in church. When I worked at the university, I knit in staff meeting. I knit in doctor's office, places where it probably wasn't appropriate to knit. I knit, okay? So you'll see those people in the airports knitting. My sister knits in airports. My sister knits on long flights, okay? That's what we do. So when you are passionate about knitting and crocheting, you bring your projects with you and you just stitch away. No matter what's going on around you, you just keep stitching. So you'll see those people, and they'll probably be more than happy. And even if they don't want to help you, they can probably point you to a store or a resource or a website or a someplace, or they'll know somebody who'd be willing to teach you. So keep looking. If you're interested, keep looking. Don't give up just because the Facebook groups are not helpful. Don't give up because Debbie Downer over there said you can't do it. Debbie Dream Killer, take a hike, okay? That's pretty much, I think this video has been more than long enough. I had many other things I was thinking about talking about, but I think I've said more than enough here. So I think I'm going to end it with that, but please feel free to leave me a comment. You can ask a question about knitting. You can ask a question about visual impairments. You can let me know what you're knitting, what you're crocheting. Let me know what you think I should do with these autumnal yarn balls that my sister sent me. Should I make a cami? Should I make a skirt? What should I do with that? Love to hear from you. So please feel free, if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. You can get more of me. Fun, right? You'll end up with the long stories about guide dogs and the longest walking relay in the world and talk about knitting, right? I mean, fun stuff. So, thank you so much for stopping by, hanging out with me today, spending a little bit of your day with me. Your time is valuable. So thanks for choosing to be with me. And this channel is all about creativity for everybody. So no matter what, whether you knit, crochet, you sew, you quilt, you bead, you sculpt, whatever it is, however you express yourself, today is a great day to craft and create. Thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye. And for the blind and visually impaired people who tune into this channel, it will end with a picture that says, "Thank you for watching," also spelled out in blue and red yarn.
Button. Double tap to activate.
During my video, I am aware that the room is quite dark. I have a condition that's called photophobia, and basically I can't open my eyes in the light. I'm blinded by light. My cells in my eyes that see color and see during the day are not attached from my eyes to my brain. They're not wired. So I film in a relatively dark room so that I can open my eyes and look at the camera, because I know that that matters to a lot of sighted people. So that's why I do that. But I also know that many people need light to see, and they want to see the light, and they want to see the projects and the pictures better that are featured in the video. So I thought I would take some little close-ups of the rather than open with pictures that I can't describe for people who are blind or visually impaired. I thought I would just show you a quick video here at the end that's in the daylight. That's of the tan hoodie, the alpaca hoodie that my sister made for me. And then this, of course, is the red faux fur crop coat that my sister made. I hope that the red shows up. I can't tell for sure. And the autumnal sort of brown cardie with the white trim that my sister made for me. and the multicolored brown socks that are ribbed that my sister made. And then, of course, we have the, oh my goodness, purple dress that I designed myself. It's got diamond lace. I'll see if I could get in close so people who have some sight can see that. It's got diamond lace that you can feel along the hem, and it's got waist shaping. And let's see if I can get this thing folded out for people to see the circular yoke. It's called a circular yoke because you start at the top at the yoke, all in one piece. This dress that's purple is no sew. There are no seams in this. You start at the neck, you cast on all your stitches, and then you keep adding in increases for your shaping to make it wider. And I did not have to sew anything, which is what I prefer as somebody who's visually impaired, who can't see my stitches. Doing seams is incredibly challenging for me. So I look for one-piece items whenever I can. So here's a close-up of the leaf lace at the yoke. Hopefully people can see that.
Pause. Pause.
Here is a close-up of the cream baby blanket with the teddy bears on it. You can see the stockinette background and then the reverse stockinette for the bears.
Pause. Pause.
And this final item is the raglan hoodie that I designed myself. It's blue, it has a hood, it's got raglan shaping for the arms. It has cables down both the right and left side on the front. It has a garter stitch button band on both sides, and then of course it's got knit 2 purl 2 ribbing out the bottom, and it has little pockets that I added on with some knit 2 purl 2 ribbing as well. And I think that is all of the items. Ooh, I got a loose thread there that were featured in the video. Hopefully, rather than showing pictures that aren't described, this will help other people who are blind or visually impaired to get a better description of the items, and also help sighted people to see them. I know some people, the majority of people with vision issues, are the opposite of me, where they can't see. And there's my screen reader. That's nice. If you're wondering how I use the internet, my phone reads things out to me, and there it is, notifying me of a salmonella outbreak. That's good to know about. So you can Google that yourself if you're interested. Anyway, hopefully for most people who are visually impaired who might be having issues with night vision, this video at the end will help people to see close up in light what was featured. All right, thanks for watching.
Pause button. Stop recording.